Tree Grows in Brooklyn, Chapter 53. She wrote that night as she'd promised, a long letter in which she poured out all her love and repeated the promises she had given. She left a little earlier for work to have time to mail the letter from the 34th Street post office. The clerk at the window assured her it would reach its destination that afternoon. That was Wednesday. She looked for but tried not to expect a letter Thursday night. There hadn't been time, unless he, too, wrote immediately after they had parted. But of course, he had to pack, maybe get up early to make his train. It never occurred to her that she managed to find the time. There was no letter Thursday night. Friday she had to work straight through a 16-hour shift because the company was short-handed on account of an influenza epidemic. When she got home, a little before 2 a.m, there was a letter propped against the sugar bowl on the kitchen table. She ripped it open eagerly. Dear Miss Nolan. Her happiness died. It couldn't be from Lee. He'd write Dear Francie. She turned the page and looked at the signature. Elizabeth Reiner, Mrs. Oh, his mother or a sister-in-law. Maybe he was sick and couldn't write. Maybe there was an army rule that men about to go overseas couldn't write letters. He had to ask someone to write for him. Of course, that was it. She started to read the letter. Lee told me all about you. I want to thank you for being so nice and friendly to him while he was in New York. He arrived home Wednesday afternoon, but had to leave for camp the next night. He was home only a day and a half. We had a very quiet wedding, just the families and a few friends. Francie put the letter down. I've been working 16 hours in a row, she thought, and I'm tired. I've read thousands of messages today, and no words make sense right now. Anyhow, I got into bad reading habits at the bureau, reading a column at a glance and seeing only one word in it. First, I'll wash the sleep from my eyes, have some coffee, and read the letter again. This time I'll read it right. While the coffee heated, she splashed cold water on her face, thinking that when she came to the part of the letter that said wedding, she'd go on reading and the next words would be, Lee was the best man and I married his brother, you know. Katie, lying awake in her bed, heard Francie moving about in the kitchen. She lay tense, waiting, and she wondered what it was she waited for. Francie read the letter again. Wedding. Just the families and a few friends. Lee asked me to write and explain why he hadn't answered your letter. Again, thank you for entertaining him so nicely while he was in your city. Yours truly, Elizabeth Reiner, Mrs. There was a postscript. I read the letter you sent, Lee. It was mean of him to pretend to be in love with you, and I told him so. He said to tell you he was dreadfully sorry. E.R. Francie was trembling violently. Her teeth made little biting sounds. Mama, she moaned. Mama. Katie heard the story. It has come at last, she thought. The time when you could no longer stand between your children and a heartache. When there wasn't enough food in the house, you pretended that you weren't hungry so they could have more. In the cold of a winter's night, you got up and put your blanket on their bed so they wouldn't be cold. You'd kill anyone who tried to harm them. I tried my best to kill that man in the hallway. Then one sunny day, they walk out in all innocence and they walk right into the grief that you'd give your life to spare them. Francie gave her the letter. She read it slowly, and as she read, she thought she knew how it was. Here was a man of 22 who evidently, to use one of Sissy's phrases, had been around. Here was a girl 16 years old, 6 years younger than he. A girl, in spite of the bright red lipstick and grown-up clothes and a lot of knowledge picked up here and there, who was yet tremulously innocent. A girl who had come face to face with some evil of the world and most of its hardships, and yet had remained curiously untouched by the world. Yes, she could understand her appeal for him. Well, what could she say? That he was no good, or at best just a weak man who was easily susceptible to whoever he was with? No, she couldn't be so cruel as that. Besides, the girl wouldn't believe her anyhow. Say something, demanded Francie. Why don't you say something? What can I say? Say that I'm young, that I'll get over it. Go ahead, say it. Go ahead and lie. I know that's what people say. You'll get over it. I'd say it too. But I know it's not true. Oh, you'll be happy again, never fear. But you won't forget. Every time you fall in love, it will be because something in the man reminds you of him." "Mother." Mother. Katie remembered. She had called her own mother Mama until the day she told her she was going to marry Johnny. She had said, "Mother, I'm going to marry." She had never said Mama after that. She had finished growing up when she stopped calling her mother Mama. Now Francie. "Mother, he asked me to be with him for the night. Should I have gone?" Katie's mind darted around looking for words. "Don't make up a lie, Mother. Tell me the truth." Katie couldn't find the right words. "I promise you that I'll never go with a man without being married first, if I ever marry. And if I feel that I must, without being married, I'll tell you first." "That's a solemn promise, so you can tell me the truth without worrying that I'll go wrong if I know it." "There are two truths," said Katie finally. "As a mother, I say it would have been a terrible thing for a girl to sleep with a stranger, a man she had known less than 48 hours. Horrible things might have happened to you. Your whole life might have been ruined. As your mother, I tell you the truth." "But as a woman," she hesitated. "I will tell you the truth as a woman. It would have been a very beautiful thing, because there is only once that you love that way." Francie thought, "I should have gone with him then. I'll never love anyone as much again. I wanted to go, I didn't go, and now I don't want him that way anymore because she owns him now. But I wanted to, and I didn't, and now it's too late." She put her head down on the table and wept. After a while, Katie said, "I got a letter too." Her letter had come several days ago, but she had been waiting for the right time to mention it. She decided that this was a good time. "I got a letter," she repeated. Who wrote?" sobbed Francie. "Mr. McShane." Francie sobbed louder. "Aren't you interested?" Francie tried to stop crying. "All right. What does he say?" she asked listlessly. "Nothing, except that he's coming to see us next week." She waited. Francie showed no further sign of interest. "How would you like Mr. McShane for a father?" Francie's head jerked up. "Mother! A man writes that he's coming to the house. Right away you think things. What makes you think you know everything all the time?" "I don't know. I don't know anything, really. I just feel. And when the feeling is strong enough, then I just say I know. But I don't. Well, how would you like him as a father?" "After the botch I've made of my own life," said Francie bitterly, and Katie didn't smile. "I'm the last person to hand out advice." "I'm not asking for your advice. Only I'd know better what to do if I knew how my children felt about him." Francie suspected that her mother's talking about McShane was a trick to divert her thoughts, and she was angry because the trick had almost worked. "I don't know, Mother. I don't know anything. And I don't want to talk about anything anymore. Please go away. Please go away and let me alone." Katie went back to bed. Well, a person can only cry so long. Then he has to do something else with his time. It was 5 o'clock. Francie decided it was no use going to bed. She'd have to get up again at 7. She discovered that she was very hungry. She had had nothing to eat since noon the day before, except a sandwich between day and night shift. She made a pot of fresh coffee, some toast, and scrambled a couple of eggs. She was astonished at how good everything tasted. But while she was eating, her eyes went to the letter, and tears came again. She put the letter in the sink and set a match to it. Then she turned on the faucet and watched the black ashes go down the drain. She resumed her breakfast. Afterwards, she got her box of writing paper from the cupboard and sat down to write a letter. She wrote, "Dear Ben, you said I was to write if I ever needed you, so I'm writing." She tore the sheet in half. "No, I don't want to need anybody. I want someone to need me. I want someone to need me." She wept again, but not so hard this time.